Vous écoutez sur la 94-90 FM à Dakar, via le net sur les www.wadr.org. WADR. WADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and 1 o'clock in Lagos. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. ECOWAS Chair President Wadr makes surprise visit to Burkina Faso.
We seem to be divided, but I don't see that division. And I'm working as chair of ECOWAS to see how I can bring them back.
Gambian lawmakers threaten sanctions after forceful removal of country's Auditor General from office by President Barrow. 11 West African nationals sue Ghana over alleged unlawful detention.
The Office of the Auditor General is doing their work, and it seems the executive are not comfortable about it, considering the corruption scandals.
And Nigeria's Plateau State to recruit over 1,400 personnel for establishment of state police to address security threats. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Imo Edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Well, ECOWAS Chair and Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio become the first leader of bloc to visit a member of the Sahelian Alliance of States in a move that has been hailed by regional observers as a turning point in relations. Bio, who took over the chairmanship of ECOWAS in June, met with Burkina Faso's leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, at the presidential palace in Kouliba. According to Sierra Leone State House, Bio committed to fostering closer ties and cooperation between ECOWAS and the Sahel Alliance during the one-day surprise visit, vowed to make sure that peace returns to Burkina Faso. The brave visit comes after tense relations between the AES bloc and ECOWAS, the junta-led West African nations of Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso, formerly withdrawn from the regional bloc known as ECOWAS in January this year. State media in Burkina Faso reported that the talks touched on regional security and international relations. As analysts said, the trip reflects growing acceptance of the breakaway bloc.
I'm here on behalf of West Africa, ECOWAS, and also myself as a person, and on behalf of Sierra Leone. I'm here the second time because we have to show solidarity with a country that is making a great effort, but yet still held back because of the security situation. We were once together, but today, because of certain developments, we seem to be divided, but I don't see that division. And I'm working as chair of ECOWAS to see how I can bring them back. We stay together. We are brothers. We can never be divided. So my visit here is solidarity, to show solidarity, to show him and Burkina Faso that you are not in this alone.
ECOWAS Chair and Sierra Leone's President Julius Maada Bio speaking there. Meanwhile, Mali's army on Wednesday escorted fuel and civilian convoys after Al-Qaeda-linked militants attacked dozens of fuel trucks on a vital trade route. State TV reported the troops escorted 40 buses carrying people in Torodo in the country's southwest region. It said more than 30 tankers, lorries and civilian vehicles from Senegal were also escorted this week. Militants affiliated with Al-Qaeda burned and destroyed some 100 trucks transporting fuel to Bamako in recent days, according to a local trade union. The Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, or JNM, announced a ban on fuel import from neighboring countries 2 weeks ago in what analysts say poses huge risk for the fragile local economy and is a significant setback for Mali's military junta. Staying in the Sahel, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger are preparing to leave the International Criminal Court, ICC. The issue of a coordinated withdrawal was discussed earlier this week in Niamey during a meeting of the Ministers of Justice of the three neighboring countries. Francis Boniface completes the story.
For the member states of the AES Confederation, the International Criminal Court, ICC, has increasingly become a tool of external influence and advancing foreign interests at the expense of African nations. Bamako, Ouagadougou, and Niamey have expressed a desire to revisit their commitments to the Rome Statute, which established the ICC. In much the same way as their decision to withdraw from ECOWAS, the AES member states are expected to formally announce in the coming weeks their shared intention to pull out of the ICC. Following this announcement, Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger will need to individually notify the court of their decision. The withdrawal would then take effect at least 1 year after the submission of such request. The AES is considering the establishment of a Sahel Penal Court for Human Rights, which would serve a similar purpose to the ICC by prosecuting international crimes. However, this proposed court would add to its mandate the prosecution of terrorism-related offenses, organized crime, and issues that affect the Central Sahel. Plans are also underway for the construction of a high-security prison to be shared by all three member states. In Burkina Faso, for instance, several individuals have already been sentenced to heavy prison terms for acts of terrorism. Mali and Niger are currently home to numerous detainees accused of terrorism within the prison systems.
Francis Boniface filed that report. Let's take you now to the Gambia, where members of the National Assembly have condemned the forceful removal of Auditor General Modu Sise from office. The lawmakers deemed the executive's action as unconstitutional and retaliatory act. The Assembly urged President Adama Barrow to reconsider his decision and demanded the immediate reinstatement of Sise. Sankli Jango captures the reactions in this report.
During a highly charged session in the National Assembly chambers on Wednesday, lawmakers took turns to denounce the president's decision to remove Auditor General Modu Sise from office after he declined a ministerial appointment, choosing to maintain his position as Auditor General instead. The matter was brought before the National Assembly as a motion of urgent public importance, tabled by Almame Jiba, the National Assembly member for Fonyi Kansala.
Honorable members, this is a moment for Parliament to demonstrate courage, foresight, and unwavering commitment to the principle of good governance. And let us not allow silence or inaction to legitimize the illegality.
Support for the motion quickly gained momentum. Lawmakers from Latrikunda Sabiji, Badibu Central and Janjambure echoed similar criticisms, accusing the executive of breaching constitutional boundaries and interfering with the independence of oversight institutions.
Forcefully removing the Auditor General from his office, that is not correct. Auditor General must go back to his office no matter what. Here what we see is an abuse of office and abuse of authority by the president. So how can the president just come in the name of promotion that he will be relocated to Minister of Trade?
The Office of the Auditor General is doing their work, and it seems the executive are not comfortable about it, considering the corruption scandals.
But the strongest reaction came from Yahya Mentensanyang, member for Latrikunda constituency, who issued a stern warning on the assembly floor.
I will urge these National Assembly members to initiate impeachment proceedings if the president don't reverse this decision.
This latest confrontation marks a significant escalation in tensions between the legislative and executive arms of government in the Gambia. The Assembly's condemnation is the latest in a series of outrage among Gambians and institutions alike, with calls intensifying for the executive to uphold constitutional norms and respect the independence of oversight institutions.
Well, let's go back to Senegal here, where customs have announced the seizure of 272.25 kilograms of cocaine in Kalifuri-Koda region on Tuesday, causing another major blow against international drug trafficking networks. According to the General Directorate of Customs, the operation carried out by the Kalifuri Customs Office targeted a Renault traffic van registered in Senegal. Inside, officers discovered 243 cocaine tablets, with 3 foreign nationals who were arrested. Authorities estimate the haul's value at 21.78 billion CFA francs.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
We'll cross over to Guinea, where with just a few days to go before Sunday's referendum, the political scene is heating up. Following in the footsteps of opposition leader Cellou Dalein, former president Alpha Conde is also calling on citizens to boycott the vote. This position quickly prompted a response from the government. For Prime Minister Amadou Uriba, these calls have only one goal: to slow down the country's ongoing rebuilding process. He insists that the electoral process is proceeding normally and that the yes vote will be victorious with a high turnout. Let's join Christopher Aticho for the details.
The Guinean Prime Minister, faced with the opponent's withdrawal, was quick to respond. In a firm tone, Amadou Uriba denounced what he considers to be a strategy of obstruction led by Cellou Dalein and Alpha Conde. In his view, these calls for a boycott do not reflect a desire to defend democracy, but rather aim to slow down the momentum of rebuilding initiatives by the transitional government. Beyond this response, the head of government sought to reassure the public about the rest of the electoral process. Uriba confidently asserted that the Guinean people are firmly committed to going to the polls and giving a resounding victory to the yes camp in the September 21 votes. Between calls for a boycott by major opposition figures and the determination shown by the government, the September 21 referendum promises to be a real test of strength. It remains to be seen whether popular mobilization will meet authorities' expectations or whether the opposition's slogan will disrupt the momentum sought by those in power.
A report by our Conakry correspondent Chenafa Ibrahim Balden, voiced in our studios by Christopher Tuchel. In Togo, former Minister of Defense Marguerite Nakade was arrested on Wednesday morning at a home in a residential neighborhood in Lomé. This development was confirmed by sources and reported by several local media outlets. No detail, including the reason for her arrest, is known, but the former minister has in recent days aligned herself with activists and opposition figures critical of the current administration. Augustin Koli tells us more.
Authorities in Lomé have yet to issue any statements regarding the arrest of Marguerite Nyakade, the former Minister of Armed Forces. She is said to be under sharp criticism for her frequent public denunciations of the current regime and her explicit calls for Faure Gnassingbé's resignation. Allegations also suggest her arrest may be linked to connections with key opposition figures in exile who have been advocating for an end to the regime. Additionally, other reports claim that Nyakade faces accusation of encouraging disobedience within the military ranks. Since her detention on Wednesday, she has been subjected to questioning. In recent months, Marguerite Nyakade has openly voiced strong criticism against Faure Gnassingbé, now President of the Council of Ministers. On August 30, she aligned herself with the M66, a coalition of Togolese activists and diaspora bloggers. The social movement platform is calling for protests against the Fifth Republic and pushing for a reinstatement of the 1992 Constitution.
A report by WDRC Wadr in Lomé, presented by Augustin Koli. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and online at wadr.org and on Utelsat 16A frequency of 12687 MHz. Here's a reminder of our top stories. ECOWAS Chair President Mahathir makes surprise visit to Burkina Faso. Gambian lawmakers threatened sanctions after forceful removal of country's Auditor General from office by President Barrow. And still ahead in the news, 11 West African nationals sue Ghana over alleged unlawful detention, and Nigeria's Plateau State to recruit over 1,400 personnel for establishment of state police to address security threats. We do have the press review, a guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, we're streaming live on wadr.org, YouTube, and Facebook. Now, 11 West African nationals from Nigeria, Liberia, Togo, the Gambia, and Mali have taken the government of Ghana to the Human Rights Court in Accra. The accused the state of unlawful detention, alleging they were secretly removed from U.S. immigration facilities, shackled, and flown into Ghana earlier this month without due process. The suit, which invokes the constitutional right to liberty, is seeking urgent relief from the court. From Accra, Nadi Tite reports.
The 11 applicants, through their lawyer, have filed for a writ of habeas corpus, a legal order that compels a state to produce detainees in court and justify the basis of their detention. According to court documents, the applicants claim they were granted protection against removal by U.S. immigration courts under the Convention Against Torture. Despite this, they allege they were secretly placed on a flight to Ghana on September 5th and 6th and have since been held at a suspected military facility without access to due process. They argue that their detention violates Article 14 of Ghana's 1992 Constitution, which guarantees personal liberty and protection against arbitrary arrests. The respondents in the case are the Attorney General, the Chief of Defence Staff, and the Controller General of Immigration. The High Court is expected to hear the habeas corpus application today, Thursday, September 18. News of the arrangements with the United States of America for Ghana to receive these West African nationals first came to light during President Mahama's encounter with journalists last Wednesday. The president confirmed the arrival of the first group and stressed that the government would act in line with the law.
We agreed with them that West African nationals were acceptable because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, I mean, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came.
Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa has also reiterated the government's position while revealing that more nationals will be arriving soon.
It was purely on humanitarian basis, and we have made clear that we did not accept any financial benefit whatsoever. We are doing this because we want to continue to position Ghana as that country which has always been the Mecca for Africans. The choice is theirs, really. For 90 days, if they want to stay here, they can stay. But so far, all of them have indicated that they want to go back after some time, and we've been facilitating that. I can reveal to you that we are expecting another 40 in the next few days.
For now, all eyes are on the Human Rights Court, where the applicants are seeking urgent protection and a ruling to secure their release. For WADR, Nadidi Teti, Accra.
The clamor for state police in Nigeria is back at the center of national debate. President Bola Tinubu and several governors have voiced strong support, but critics fear the idea could be abused by politicians or hampered by weak funding. Nonetheless, Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State at an event disclosed his readiness to kick off the security with an initial of over 1,400 personnel. WDR's Usman Umar in Abuja takes a closer look at why this debate matters, particularly in regions grappling with insecurity.
For years, the question of whether Nigeria should create state police has divided opinion. Supporters say local forces will respond faster to security threats, while critics fear state governors could misuse them against political opponents. The issue gained new momentum last year when President Bola Tinubu, meeting with Northeast governors, pledged to remove constitutional barriers to its creation. The National Assembly is now considering proposals to move policing from the federal exclusive list to allow state control. On the ground, governors from the north and south are aligning behind the push. One of the latest voices is Plateau State Governor Caleb Mutfwang. At the opening of the 2025-2026 legal year in Jos, capital of the state, he insisted that state police are long overdue.
The security challenge has looked us squarely in the face, and we've been doing the much we can. We continue to seek for wisdom and better ways of arresting the situation. I use this occasion to reiterate my call for state police, which the learned sage also mentioned. I believe that the time for the creation of state police is now.
Mutfwang also announced plans to recruit more personnel into Plateau's local outfit, Operation Rainbow, and urged closer cooperation between communities and security agencies. Security analysts say the stakes are high. They argue that as kidnappings, banditry and insurgency worsen, policing rooted in local knowledge is urgently needed. But they warn that without clear oversight and strong funding, state police could become another political tool.
The desperation to have state police, whether it is for the right or the wrong reasons, the governors have to write the sound out. Let us support them to have it, albeit with the safeguards to ensure that there are no abuse, or they don't use them as instrument to be fighting each other while governance suffers.
Security or sovereign security, I think, is local. It's only the locals that can understand or knows the people that perpetrate crimes. You cannot post somebody from Abia or from Delta State to Maiduguri to go and solve crimes. They may be able to solve it, but it probably will take them longer time to do that.
On the streets, Nigerians are divided. Some see state police as a chance to finally bring security closer to their communities. Others worry that it could entrench abuse of power by governors and deepen political tensions.
Any attempt at trying to create state police now will dissuade so many things within the system. My take here is that why do a state police when the Nigerian police force can transfer every single officer to his local government area of origin? If you do that, then you would have had all what you need out of state for state policing.
For Nigeria and its neighbors in West Africa, the stakes are enormous. Insecurity has displaced millions, hurt local economies, and undermined confidence in state authority. Whether state police becomes a reality may depend on how quickly lawmakers can agree on the legal framework and whether safeguards against abuse are credible. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
The Liberian National Police is seeking international assistance in a high-profile rape case that has generated public debate and scrutiny. In a press briefing on Wednesday, Police Inspector General Gregory Coleman announced key developments in the investigation, including a request for foreign DNA testing, signaling the government's commitment to a thorough and transparent process. In Monrovia, Ibrahim Parker reports.
The case, which involves allegations against the Deputy Minister for Youth Development, Bryant McGill, has drawn attention across the country. According to Coleman, investigators are analyzing evidence and gathering information which involves obtaining and analyzing phone records. Recognizing the need for advanced forensic capabilities, Coleman emphasized that the LNP is reaching out to international partners to order a DNA sampling. Inspector General Coleman emphasized the importance of due process and cautioned against rushing to judgment.
We have to make sure we follow all of these steps so that it is done right. Once we get that before law and we're able to verify, the last step will be trying to engage for help for forensic DNA sampling. Fortunately, the clothes that we're wearing was carefully preserved. It's been packaged, so we've now ordered that the DNA sample be collected from the alleged.
With the current rape stance being a non-bailable offense, the current step by the police has been criticized by Liberians, with many calling on the law enforcement officers not to be selective. A coalition of civil society organizations, including the Association of Female Lawyers of Liberia, have promised to shut down the country if the ongoing case is compromised. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's head back to Accra as we join Nadi Tete for the press review.
Greetings. Welcome to the newspaper review segment. We'll start off with the Daily Graphic newspaper front page. Binyere conflict, trauma and agony grip displaced victims. Also here, Bank of Ghana drops policy rates to 21.5%. That's it for the Daily Graphic newspaper front page of the Ghanaian Times. Ensuring road safety, government to crack down on rickety vehicles. That's according to the Minister of Transport. The Daily Guide newspaper front page. Public debt hits 628.8 billion Ghana cedis, and TikTok are jailed 7 months over threats to kill presidents. Selective justice and mass dismissals erode Mohammed's goodwill. That's according to an Imani report. And Kumasi shuts down as Asante Hima goes home today. The Daily Democrat, Gold Board cracks down on criminal syndicate. The Daily Democrat newspaper front page, Gold Board cracks down on criminal syndicate, and Ghana secures $3.5 billion oil investment at Africa Oil Week. The Chronicle newspaper front page, Ghana Immigration Service officers on rampage. There's a question being asked. A lawyer accuses them of unlawful occupation and threat and intimidation of his client. Other stories here, inflation falls to 4-year low. The National Enquirer, Christian leaders unite during landmark landmark meeting on national prayer, unity and governance, and evacuation of excavators from Tema Port not secretive, GPHA clarifies. And Ghana secures $3.5 billion investment to boost upstream petroleum sector. That's according to the Energy Minister. That'll be it for the newspaper review segment. Is back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Nadi there.
Politics, analyses on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, we'll take you back to the development story that has raised serious constitutional concerns and sparked widespread public reaction in the Gambia. Recall on September 10, the Office of the President announced the appointment of Auditor General Modu Sise as Minister of Trade. However, just a day later, Mr. Sise declined the offer, choosing instead to remain in his constitutionally protected role as Auditor General. What followed on the 13th or 15th shocked many. A forceful attempt to remove him from office carried out by officers of the Police Intervention Unit. Some of them were armed. This unprecedented move has drawn sharp condemnation from the National Assembly. The lawmakers deemed the executive's action as unconstitutional and retaliatory act. Marian Yang, the executive director of Gambia Participate, throws more light on this development.
First off, it is, I wouldn't even call him the then Auditor General because legally he's still the Auditor General, right? And the removal of the Auditor General must be guided or must follow the legal principles, which is the Constitution and then also the National Audit Office Act of 2015. So there are grounds in which the Auditor General can actually be removed. And those grounds are, first, he or she must be mentally imbalanced, incapable of discharging his constitutional mandate. 2, he is incompetent. 3, he misbehaved. Now, even if you are able to establish this as a government, you cannot unilaterally take that decision because it has to be investigated and reported by either a medical board that will have to look at his medical status or a tribunal that will investigate whether he misbehaved or he has found to be incompetent in discharging his responsibility. None of those are followed. The issue here is he was given or he was offered a job and he declined. So if you offer me a job and I decline, there's nothing wrong with that. So the whole issue is now projecting us to believe that the Auditor General, the plan was to get him removed out of office, bring someone else that the government want to be in that place, and cover up the corruption that they have into it.
But why do you think they are so bent on removing him from his job as the Auditor General?
Well, let's go back to history. Didn't we hear the president calling an audit report a mere opinion after there were massive corruption that were reported in the government of the Gambia account, the secure report, the NAWEC, and all the others? So you have qualified, independent public institution like that of the National Audit Office did extremely well in gathering facts, gave their opinions. What should you do as a government? You should actually take that seriously because you should be in fact proud that you have an institution under your administration that is uncovering corruption. The next step is for you to take the accountability measures. But the president came in and said they are just an opinion. And then you have his presidential advisor who in fact criticized the National Audit Office and then said their audit report on secure report, who were collecting money from every individual that is embarking to our airport to pay money. There was massive corruption. The auditors reported that, and the president's advisor called it a half-baked, quote-unquote, report. So it's just telling us that the government has not been happy with the work that the Auditor General has been doing, and there is no better way to stop the Auditor General from covering or reporting on these corruption issues than to just remove him out of office.
Mariang is Executive Director of Gambia Participates. In sports news, Augustine Cooley is here to tell us about the Africa's own CAF Champions League, which is kicking off this weekend. Augustine.
Great. Yes, so the 2025-2026 season of the Total Energies CAF Championship officially gets underway this Friday, September 19, with the kickoff of the preliminary stages of Africa's premier continental club competition. This marks a historic milestone with a record number of 62 clubs registered for the season, underscoring CAF's ongoing efforts to broaden participation and enhance the competitiveness of African football. To further support clubs across the continent, CAF has introduced a new financial initiative. Teams eliminated in the first 2 preliminary rounds will each receive $100,000 to assist in covering logistical expenses. Winners of last season's Total CAF Confederation Cup, RS Bekane, will face Togo's ASC Kara in their opening encounter. And in Europe, so far, Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Liverpool, and Paris Saint-Germain all recorded winning starts to their 2025-2026 UEFA Champions League campaigns so far. Coming up tonight, Barcelona will be without Lamine Yamal for their Champions League opener at Newcastle, but welcome back Frankie de Jong after injury. Meanwhile, Manchester City welcomes Italian side Napoli as Monaco of France takes on Club Brugge of Belgium, while entering Frankfurt of Germany will welcome Galatasaray of the Turkish League One.
Interesting lineup there this evening for Champions League followers. Augustine, thank you so much for sport.
A pleasure.
And that's it on this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.